and let us move on quickly to agenda item 2, discussion of applicant for resident position, Mr. Marwan Cameron. Okay, I don't know how this discussion goes. There were no other applicants, is that correct?
That's correct.
Then I think we need a motion to accept him as a citizen member.
Okay.
I guess would the committee want to first decide whether they want to keep it open longer before they move forward with that, to see if anyone else were to respond, or do you want to just move forward?
Well, that could be part of the discussion after the motion is made, certainly, if you want to follow Roberts. Christine, did you have something to say?
Cameron as community member. May I have a second?
Hang on a second. I think Christine had something to say before we
proceed.
As staff, I just want to suggest that if we'd liked our candidate, if he has anything to say, to address the committee. And then also I'm watching to see if there's any members of the public attending that may want to comment on this item. So I kind of have those two things I'm watching, but okay. I want at least that open. And then after Marwan provides his comments, if you'd like to entertain any comments and the motion, I think we can go through that.
That sounds like a plan.
Excellent. Move to are there any members of the public?
I am seeing none.
Okay. Well, then,
Marwan was gonna, do you want to tell us anything, Marwan?
I'll keep it short for the sake of time. You know, I do wish that there were other applicants. I did advertise to try to, get some other folks to participate in this, and it's a little unfortunate. I would be willing to stretch it out if, the committee wanted to, but I'm also ready to serve, and that's the reason why I put my application in.
Awesome.
Anybody else? I think Marwan's done a good job, and yes, Christine, please go ahead.
I just want to add that Marwan's first and current term is expiring on November 27th. So I just want to say that for continuity, if the committee entertains reappointing him, we would have seamless coverage on the committee if he's reappointed at this time.
Yep.
I would say that all indications are that the committee does wish to reappoint him. But of course, we cannot determine that for sure, Christine, until we take a vote. Okay, thank you. It would be seamless. All right, so I'm gonna, Marwan, did you have anything more to say?
No, that's it.
Rosalind, Jenny, Deborah, anything more?
Nope.
Okay, I move to, with great gratitude, reappoint Marwan Cameron as the community member of the Audit Committee of the City of Bremerton.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say hooray.
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 Congratulations, Marwan.
Thank
you, Marwan.
I don't need to vote for myself, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So moving on to agenda item, well, that was actually agenda items 2 and 3. We have confirmed that Marwan Cameron is our resident community member. So we're going to move on to agenda item 4. Does anybody have any comment on the meeting minutes for September 22nd, 2025?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anna?
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I have to backtrack to Marwan's reappointment. We need to say his term for the record.
Would you please supply that information to the rest of us?
So it was to confirm the reappointment of Marwan Cameron as the resident member to the Audit Committee for a 3-year term beginning on November 28th, 2025 and ending November 27th, 2028.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you much.
Perfect.
Okay. Christine, I'm bopping back and forth between screens to go to the agenda and then go to the Zoom window. So if you put your hand up, there could be a lag.
Oh, okay.
Not like I'm not looking. All right, moving on to agenda item 4. Does anyone have any comment to make on the meeting minutes from September 22nd of this year.
No comments.
Okay, move to
comments.
approve. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Move to approve.
Yeah. As approve as presented. Yeah.
A second.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. Hang on while I go to agenda item 5. The communications and outreach cost comparison draft report. And that will be followed by just giving everybody a heads up here. An update on the forestry income review, and then various housekeeping matters. That's all we have before adjournment. So, okay. Does anybody have any comments to make on the communications?
I can't find the draft copy. So did you send it, Christine?
Yes.
It was in the
You
email
should-
yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay, I'll look at yesterday's mail.
It's in the packet with the agenda.
Ah, interesting.
You
I've
had it
seen.
in September.
Oh,
didn't you?
yes.
I did read
I-
through it, and go ahead.
I don't have an email from yesterday. I have emails from the 14th. One is a notice and agenda, and there's no, well, maybe this is it. Ah.
No,
Found it. Okay.
I do
I
not
think,
see it.
yes.
I'm seeing the same thing as I only have the 14th. If you can resend it.
It's on the 14th, and
it
you
is.
just have to page down in the attachment, which starts with the agenda and then your application, and it's further down.
Okay.
So I have not had a chance to read it, unfortunately, but I'll read the summary real fast.
So Deb, you had read it back in September because
Right.
this same report, there may be some minor changes, but the same
Oh,
report
okay.
was presented in September, and you were the only one who had read it. So we postponed approving it. And, it's 2 months now really since I've been into that report. So my,
Right.
my mind is totally into something else now. So, but has everyone read it at this point?
Yes. I
Yes.
have.
Do you
Now
have
I
some
remember
feedback,
having read it.
Rosalind?
I didn't have feedback. I mean, I remarked to myself, like, you do spend a lot of time going through what we have in the city of Bremerton as far as supports for the communications. And I think that the recommendation of trying to define a strategy on what their communications moving forward should look like is a great recommendation. I think that it didn't seem like whether you hired somebody or whether you didn't, you would save a significant amount of money. I mean, $45,000 is a lot of money, but roughly around there is a lot of money, but it's not something that's going to like break the bank if you decided to continue on in the piecemealing process that you utilize now. But I think that if you have a dedicated communication strategy of what it is that you're trying to accomplish and how you want to go about doing that, and it's standardized and rote, you'll have far more benefits by having somebody who is dedicated and overseeing that work and has that repetition to them. And that's where your real benefits will come in. So if you were asking me what my recommendation would be based on what I read and how I saw that, I would say, yeah, you definitely want to have somebody who's standardized and that's there and is helping to guide the mission as to what it is that you want to communicate and how you want to communicate moving forward. And while you may not get physical monetary value, you'll get like inherent value from that. But I thought the report was well done, so thanks for putting that all together.
Thank you. So there actually isn't a cost savings if you hire someone. It will cost more for the salary, and the consulting fees will go down somewhat. And of course, that's that number, that 45,000 that it goes down. That's squishy. It's a best estimate, but if you're going to change the way you do business, or that whole dynamic can change as well. But so it's just to, I guess, get the conversation started and put some numbers out there that approximate the impact, I guess.
So if you go back to the summary and you say that you're not going to save, maybe the language needs to be revised because it read that way to me. I mean, I read that there was, saving a cost in the general fund.
Let's see, let me look.
Trying to open the packet. I had it open on my phone. That's why I can't find it.
So I'll read it. If the city hired another communications employee, it is estimated the total annual compensation, salary and benefits would be approximately $131,000 to $203,000, blah, blah, blah. And that the city could reduce its annual outreach consulting fees by approximately $45,000.
I see.
So you would spend say $150,000 on compensation, and the consulting fees would go down $45,000.
So we'd be spending $100,000 to save 50 in very round numbers.
Yeah, but then, like Rosalind said, there's other benefits to having an internal person, and whether that person is already on city staff and just needs to be designated the leader, or however that comes together, I don't know.
I think
if you're putting those, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you're putting those responsibilities on somebody you already have, then there's no cost at all, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And I think both to Roz's point and to yours, the recommendation maybe, well, I don't want to say should read, it could read that these non-monetary benefits, but still benefits to consistency of communication style and outreach should be considered when we look at, do we want to repurpose an existing employee? I'm not being very articulate tonight. I haven't had a lot of sleep for a few nights.
No, you were clear.
Okay. Does that make sense, Jenny?
Yeah, the report does say that that the consistency can be achieved by hiring someone. It can also be achieved by establishing a policy or a procedure. So if that were the only item of concern, then you would most likely just sit down and craft a good policy so that you could have better consistency. But I think it's more than that, and so then someone needs to decide whether it's worth hiring a communications person to achieve the rest.
So who would carry out the policy that is created? Each department?
Well, because the majority of the outreach is through Public Works, I would think that it would be someone in Public Works, probably one of their project managers, because they're the ones that oversee the majority of it. So if they got their heads together, maybe the project managers got themselves together and said, look, this is what we're trying to achieve. And then they craft a policy and,
I see. And maybe I'm out of line here, but I would be in favor for them to hire someone, because it doesn't seem that like the efforts right now are bearing quite a bit of fruit. And, knowing no one applying to the audit committee is a prime example of that.
Perfect example.
Sending out postcards is just not an effective way to communicate with the public. Even looking at our election numbers, were just really low this November. So I would definitely be in favor for, hiring someone instead of having the department that is already doing it just come up with a policy that may or may not improve at all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marwan. Anybody else?
What he said and what Rosalind said.
Well, I have a few comments myself, but I'm trying to observe that unwritten rule that the chair talks last. So I think that I know Mike Riley, our finance director, suggested looking over a 10-year period instead of a 5-year period. And you looked over like what, an 8-year period? Am I right on that, Jenny?
Oh, I don't remember, Anna.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, hang on, I can run down.
No, I've got it here. I just have to open more windows. No worries. Boolaga, boolaga,
16,
boolaga.
yeah, 16 through 24.
Yeah.
That's 8 years.
Yes. So
9 years.
Right.
You are no darned good. Sorry, I'm talking to my computer, which is like so rude. Okay, fine. And I think that by going back that many years, one of the comments that you made, which I can now no longer find, but I know you made it, was that over the past 5 years, there's been a big increase in the amount of work done specifically for communications and outreach.
It's page 17 of the packet,
Okay.
first paragraph.
What page is it of the report? 13? 15?
12.
Okay. Another county heard from.
Do I heard 13?
Sold. So if you start looking at 2020, and except 2021 is a bit of an outlier at less than 30 grand, there's a quite a steady increase of, and so if you were just using those 5 years, I think you'd come up with a different yearly average. Like for those 5 years, you have a yearly average of going on 150,000, right? So I think that's one thing about the cost of what we're spending on consultants. It has gone up considerably and seems to keep going up. And then I also think your comparables to Bainbridge of what people are paid included Bainbridge, right? And again, I took careful notes on this, and before I went out to call 911 on a guy who was beating up a woman on the street, I had it all perfect. And now I seem to be a bit rattled. I do beg your pardon. So the comparables are where? Somewhere. There we go. On page 50, the last page. We're including Dr. Briggs, who is doing much more than communications and outreach. We're including Bainbridge Island, which, pays its city councilors 6 figures. So we typically don't include them. The usual comparables that we have are Lakewood, Linwood, Marysville, and Olympia, and some of those are well above 100,000. So it's not a huge thing, but it's just I think that what you have done is come up with a really conservative estimate of how much we would save, as it were, or how much it would cost. And since coming up with a really conservative estimate is exactly what we hope you will do, I think this was really well done. I myself would not say that BCAT is involved in communications any more than like security camera footage would be considered, because it's not a two-way street. It's just, here it is.
Well, that would mean that all media is is not communication. So I would take issue with that.
Yeah, or
Fair enough.
postcards. Postcards would be one way as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's not a two-way conversation, but it's
Yeah.
communication
Yeah.
without
Well,
question.
it's the kind of I'm depending on, because I am a little rattled, I am depending on all of you to say, just simmer down, Anna. That's been the kind of communication that the city has typically done, is to just, like, it's on the website.
Yeah. But I
Um,
mean, they broadcast the city council meetings and debates and things like that, and so it's not interactive, but it is an opportunity for citizens to see the city in action,
true.
and that's different from a postcard. But to
It
your
is.
point, it's similarly one-sided. So I get what you're saying.
I myself really,
Go
I'm sorry, Jenny, I'll just do this and be right back to you. I myself really like the postcard because it's something that, like, you don't have to sign up for it. It's like, I really liked it that DCD sent out a postcard to every household in the city across the board saying, we're redoing our comp plan. If you want more, go here. But yeah, it is one way. Okay, all done, Jenny. Sorry.
You're welcome to continue on. I just was going to comment on the hire in the past 5 years or so. That's presented because it kind of cuts both ways. You can either look at it that the trend is way up, but the reason that the trend is way up is that, you know, council has made communications with the public. It's in their top priorities. I forget what the official name of that list is.
Goals and priorities.
Right. So that's why it's come up. So you can either, you know, in lean times, you can look at that and say, gee, you know, should we scale it back some? Or, you know, I'm not saying one way or the other, because I think that people like it. I think staff likes having the extra outreach. I think they feel it's a good process and good for the people and good for the city. But it's not just that it's trending up, and so you should only look at the last 5 years for a cost analysis. You can also look at it and say, you know, a different strategy is to spend less money on communications. But anyway.
I think that's a really good point. And if I thought that anyone at Public Works was influenced by the council goal, I would give it more weight. But typically these projects come to us with the communications plan, and in fact, the communications consultant already chosen for us to, you know, as part of a package deal for us to approve or disapprove. I think it's quite possible that the more progressive legislature of the past few years is requiring more community engagement in their grants, in the state grants. That's my hypothesis.
I'm not sure if that's accurate. I don't know that they're dictating how much we need to spend on outreach. But anyway,
No.
My hope was that I would be providing the data for people to look at, and that they could see the trends that they feel are relevant to how they feel about the position. And so that's why I provided data, like how much was spent with each of the vendors, so that you could have that information, what level of person was being utilized on communication, you know, whether it's an engineer or a planner or whatever those were that are in the schedule, just so that you would have that information and be able to use it how you see fit. And I just wanted the people that read the report to have that information.
Marwan.
I had a question on the estimated value of outsourced outreach that could be replaced with an employee, which is 14 or 15 on the report. How is it determined, the 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 dollar that will be spent on particular outreach? I've got Bremerton wayfinding in 2022 of 11,720. Quincy Square has a different amount. The 11th and Perry Construction Management is 11 grand in 2023. Is there any kind of consistency that is set on, hey, we're going to spend this amount of money to advertise, and it's going to be fair for every, you know, it should be, I would believe, equal, at least per scale for each event that's going on, that everyone gets the same amount of marketing and advertising and outreach. But some of these numbers are wildly different.
So what I did, Marwan, you have to, these schedules kind of build on the analysis. So if you go 2 pages earlier.
Okay.
Okay. So it's, oh, wait a minute. Let me see where we are. Which page were you on?
I was on 14.
Okay, so let's go up. Yeah. So if you go up to 12.
I'm there.
Okay, so we'll just go through the first few lines there. So the parking study, $12,650 was spent on communications, and that occurred in 2016. The Brownsfield Community Assessment Project had $24,000 spent. 12 of it, approximately, I had to estimate these, but about 12,000 was probably spent in 2017, 6,000 in the next year, and then 6,000 in 2019. The SR 303 corridor, 25,500 was spent in 2018, etc. Okay, so that's how that schedule reads. Okay, so then if you go to the next page, oh yeah, the next page, you see the parking study again at the top. Are you with me on this?
I am.
Okay, and you see again the $12,650.
Correct.
So there were 2 consultants on that. There was a project manager and a planner. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I estimated 28% of that work could have been done by an employee.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the assumption was that they would replace the planner on the open house and the shareholder meeting. And so I looked at the hours and, you know, calculated what all of that would be, and it came to 28%.
I see.
The Brownsville Community Assessment, I really didn't have enough information, so I just used an average of what the other projects were, so that 29%. The SR 303 corridor, this was a real estate strategist, which seemed to be too specialized for a communications person to just step in and do an urban and economic development. So I said none of that could have been replaced by an employee because this was too technical for a communications person. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but you know, I have to make judgment calls. And that's the process that I went through line by line, looking at, you know, who worked on it. On the next one, there were 9 consultants that worked on this on the East Side market analysis sub-area plan. You know, how much of that could be replaced by one person? So that's how that's the process I went through.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then those calculations go into the next table. So that's what the result of that is. So the 28% of, or what was the number? Sorry, I'll go back up. I'll look at the parking study. 28% of the 12,650 on the parking study is $3,542 on page 15. Do you follow that?
I do.
Okay. And that's the process I went through. And so it's not a perfect science, but it was done with very thoughtfully.
Yeah, I think the
You were
analysis
consistent in your analysis, I think, Jenny.
Yeah, and I've been a consultant, Deb. I think that perhaps you have as well.
Mhm.
And I kind of know how it works. If there's only so much one person can replace when you come to the table of
Right.
people that are working on a project. So.
Yeah, I see that this is consistent. It makes sense to me. I guess my concern is just based on this analysis, there are some things that get a higher dollar amount than others. And so if for some things it could look like it's some of the council's pet projects and the mayor's pet projects, and really want to make sure that that gets pushed through versus other things that don't have as much fanfare. So the consistency would be pretty important, I think.
Well, I'm sorry, Jenny, after you.
No, I'm listening.
So some of these are mandated, right? Like the 2024 transportation element that we spent 125 grand on.
Mm-hmm.
There was no mandate to spend 125 grand, but there was a mandate to produce a transportation element of the comprehensive plan. Right. It's like a requirement. If you're going to run around being a city, you got to do it. Other things like the Tracyton Beach sewer, I'm completely in agreement with Jenny on that. It's like nobody cares about that. It's just something we have to do. It's nobody's pet project. It's just like the sewers are failing, so we have to put in a sewer improvement that won't fail. Right? It's just. Is that making sense?
It does, but so fixing the sewer sounds like an expensive proposition. So
No kidding.
shouldn't that outreach be commensurate with the expenditure and the output that it's going to take to fix the sewer system? I mean, there's a lot of fanfare for Quincy Square, but there's not for the Tracyton Beach sewer. But the sewer is pretty important.
Well,
Jenny, please go ahead.
What I learned through the process is that most people don't care much about the sewer other than it's working. People very much care about traffic and street projects. And so they spend more money on the projects that the people are interested in, because they don't need to spend a whole bunch of money on outreach that no one cares about. It's money wasted. So just because the project itself costs a lot of money doesn't mean that you need to spend a lot of money on outreach. That's what I learned through the process.
Right.
Or doesn't mean that you do spend a lot of money on outreach. Maybe one should, but they don't.
People go straight up in the air about streets, and then if you look a couple of down from Tracyton Beach sewer, you're looking at the View Ridge Elementary safe routes to school. Mm-hmm. Well, there you have to do a lot of outreach, because
yes, you do.
You know how people are, they get attached to their kids.
Imagine that.
So this was, it was really important to get out there and get it right. Is that making sense, Marwan?
It does. For the sake of time, I'll drop it. It's just when I was at Olympic College, they were building the new theater, and a lot of students were really upset that the money wasn't being invested toward their issues, especially to address the homelessness issues that many students were having. And they did not understand that was a different pot of money and different grant money. So it's like, you don't use your pizza money to pay the rent, right? Or you don't use the rent money to buy pizza. So they weren't understanding that piece of it. The sewer is really important. We know we have some budget issues. If they're not really caring about it, but they don't understand until it comes time to say, hey, we've got to either raise taxes or we have to cut back on police or whatever. Well, here's where this money had to go, but there really wasn't a lot of outreach there because typically you guys don't care about that, but you really need to understand that because this is why we have these shortfalls or why we have to spend this money and we can't hire.
Yeah, it's a finite pot of money.
Sadly, I think we've all been staring at it, uttering spells. Nothing has worked. I think that's a good point, Marwan. And if there were more people who gave a tinker's damn about how the city budget works, I think that would be an important point to raise. But, we have had so far 0 comment on the budget, to my knowledge. And that's where all those figures are laid out every year. But actually, for the sake of Deborah's husband's dinner, Marwan, I'll be actually really happy to talk to you about the outreach that Kitsap County does for their public works department and talks about what, all the stuff that isn't sexy that they do. And I'd be really happy to talk to you about that sometime after Deborah's husband gets food.
Okay.
So I need to know if people have specific changes they would like for me to make to the report. Rosalind says no.
I don't.
Okay. All right. Carry on.
I don't.
All right. Can we go to the next item on our agenda, please?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Thank
Hang
you.
on. As the vice chair, can you just read it out? It's the forestry thing, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And here is where Mr. Walsh comes to the fore. Okay.
Right.
Please go ahead.
So I think that Sean Walsh, he's our forester for the city, forestry manager. I think he's just sitting in because he wants to hear. It's his department. He cares deeply about it. So, but it's my show, and it's just going to be a brief summary of where I am so far and just a few of the numbers that I see. If you do have questions, Sean did say that he is here to answer any questions that you have. I do think that we will want him to answer questions when I'm further into the project, maybe when I have a draft report and something like that. But he is here today. If you want to ask questions today, that's fine. So we didn't have our last meeting because we didn't have a quorum. But we're proceeding anyway, even though we had some questions about what the scope should be. What we decided in a little work group that we had last month, that I would be looking at 2 scenarios, what the water rates, I guess, well, it's the financial impact to the city if there's no timber harvest or if we're at the current level of timber harvesting. There's other scenarios that you could consider, like you could consider if you increase timber harvesting, or you could consider instead of going to just no timber harvest that you reduce it. But those are the 2 scenarios that we're looking at, is no timber harvest and the current timber harvest. An analysis of this was already done and was presented, I believe it was prepared by someone called FCS Consulting Group, but it was presented in Mason, Bruce, and Gerard's slide presentation back in June. And then they had, I think it gets rolled up into the Utility Land Management Plan. Did I just say it right, Anna?
You did well.
Thank you. It's always been a tongue twister for us. what the slide presentation showed, so this is the consultant's analysis. It showed that there is minimal difference to the water rates charged to the customers. See, forestry income goes to the water utility. It's part of that fund, the water utility fund. And so what the Mason, Bruce, and Gerard slide presentation showed is that with no timber harvest, the water rates are almost the same as when you do have the current level of timber harvest. You would have to charge, depending on which year, because they looked at about a 10-year snapshot, I believe it was. But it changed, it's like from $1 to $3 difference, depending on what year you look at. And that's the dollar per month charged to the water customer. So I'm doing a similar analysis. I think my analysis looks at it in a slightly different way, but I'm doing my own independent work. And then I'm also trying to understand the work that was done by the consultants. What I can tell you without going into a lot of detail is that average revenue for the forestry, this is the timber sale revenue. They do have some other miscellaneous revenue. I don't know what those numbers are right now, but I believe that they're pretty immaterial compared to the timber harvest. But for the last 5 years, the timber harvest revenue averaged about $800,000 a year, a little bit over that, but about 800,000. And the expenditures, operating expenditures, averaged about $1.2 million. So the annual net loss, operating loss, is about $400,000 a year. So when we look at the analysis, we say, okay, if you take away the $800,000 of revenue, what will the impact be? Because some of the expenses would discontinue as well. So if you're not selling your timber, you're not harvesting your timber, you're not going to be paying the logger, the hauling, and the timber broker. Those are the big expenses. So we subtract that. So you say, well, you're going to lose 800,000, but not really, because you're going to save some of those expenses. So you're going to subtract that. And so I'm in the process of trying to refine that. One of the questions that I have to work through, and it's a little awkward, but it's looking at the labor. And I just, normally when I work on a project like this, I would work with an independent, say, logging consultant who would say, well, this is what happens if you don't have a timber harvest. You still need people for this, that, and the other. In this case, I work with the forestry manager, Sean Walsh. And it's a little trickier because it's his department. And it just makes it a little more challenging. Because most managers want to protect their the jobs in their department, protect their staff. And so anyway, but I do know that a lot of the work does still need to continue to take care of the forest. I just don't know how many staff people it will require. So I have to dig into that some more and work with Sean on trying to make sure that we capture the right numbers on that. It may come down that because I'm not a logger, I'm not a forester, I'm an accountant. So I'm limited. But so I may have to look at it and just say, well, if you assume that all of the staff need to remain on staff in order to keep the forest healthy, even if you're not cutting timber. And then I would look at it, what the numbers look like if all of the staff stay on board, and then what it looks like, say, if you have to cut one employee, just 25% of the labor goes away. Or, I'm sorry, I don't remember if it was if they have 4 or 5 employees. I'll have to look at that. But anyway, so it may come down to something like that I just say, well, if you assume that there's a reduction of staff of 1 person or 2 persons, or 0 persons, this is how the numbers play out. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. And does anyone have questions or comments?
Can I just interject before throwing this open to discussion? One thing to really make clear, to repeat what Jenny said, which is that any revenue that forestry makes stays with the water utility. It doesn't go to the city to help us in our current jam. The other thing is that Jenny, you wanted an answer on what net, hang on, what is net revenue? And did you get that answer? Okay. The other thing is that personnel does not come out of the cost for the salaries of the forestry unit, and for the approximately 90 to 100,000 a year that we spend for Bremerton Police Department to patrol the watershed. None of that comes out of the water utilities budget. That's all I just wanted to make clear. Everybody, did that make sense to everyone? That the 1.2 million, that doesn't come out of?
Yes.
Okay. Please go ahead. Comments, questions?
Hey, Sean, it's good to meet you. The only question that I had is there anything that you would like to share with us that you think would be germane in our discussion?
Yeah, good evening, Audit Committee, and thank you for letting me join. I appreciate it. I know it's rare to see city staff, so appreciate the time. All I'll mention is, the management of our lands aren't financially driven, right? That's not our main goal for the ownership of the forest lands. The revenue we generate is just essentially an added benefit. As Jenny mentioned, if you were a large timber landowner, such as an industrial landowner, they manage on a shorter rotation, so they would be harvesting more, and with the main goal of they're generating revenue. So I'll just add that, we also do several things that aren't timber harvest related in forestry. That's not our main role. And so we have other programs that we manage. Councilor Mockler mentioned the patrol. So we assist BPD with securing the watershed lands. And then we also do our biosolids application program, where we essentially apply the treated wastewater product to essentially take a product from our wastewater treatment plant and apply it on the forest floor as essentially a fertilizer. And so that helps with costs for the wastewater treatment plant. So we do have other costs that are not timber related. So I think that's what's going to be key to look at, is noting that net revenue for timber revenue should be focusing on just the things that are coming in terms of cost because of timber revenue.
Thank you.
Deborah, Rosalind?
I have no further comments. No, this is kind of what I expected from what Jenny was talking about the last time we met. So no big surprises in anything she said to me.
Okay. Christine, did you lit up? Did you have something?
I do.
Okay. So one of the things in the draft utility lands management plan that a majority of council approved is there's a menu of options that forestry can choose from: no harvest, current harvest, 50-year rotation, 60-year rotation. And there's no council oversight on that. So it's Yeah, just passing that along.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Jenny, how can we be of use to you in the coming months before our December meeting, which we will be talking about soon?
I don't think I need anything from the committee. Nothing comes to mind anyway. I gave Sean the heads up that, you know, I'm collecting a bunch of questions and so forth for he and I to go over, but that will be for Sean and I.
Okay.
If
All
something
right.
comes up, I'll let you know, Anna.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Hang on one sec while I bulligate around here. Oh, you are no darn good.
And when you do talk about the December meeting, I'm just going to let you know that I'm planning to take Thanksgiving week off. I may work one day, but otherwise I'm taking the week off. So
No worries. I do beg everyone's pardon for.
do you want me to
Just
find the agenda?
Nope, got it. Finally. All right. Okay, so we have completed agenda item 6, the update on the forestry income review. Thank you all. So the other matters and announcements are recap of budget workshop and then general business. I'm just gonna, before we get into either of those, again, in the interest of Deborah's husband's food.
Yeah, I got to get going. Can we talk about the December meeting and then I'll leave you guys?
That
Great,
was what I
thanks.
wanted. Yeah. So
Yeah, good.
can we reschedule for December 15th? Because obviously December 22nd is, you know,
Not a good time.
not a good time for many.
So
Okay,
that was that was the only thing I was suggesting is that if I'm out next week, it doesn't give me a lot of time before December 15th, but
Oh, I see. Well, 2 weeks.
it's,
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Are you
it'll be what
suggesting
it is.
to January?
I mean, we can meet in December. I have no problem with it, but just saying, I work 3 days a week. I don't have.
Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't we often foregone a December meeting?
Over the years, yes, some of the December meetings have been canceled.
I know the difficulty is that we get new committee assignments in January. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I
But-
would like to.
But that
I'm
could
sorry.
mess up our January schedule anyway. So I just put that out there that it's something that we do sometimes.
Well, I would like to have it on December 15th, but I'm just one of many.
Well, I guess the question in my mind is to what end if Jenny won't have time to put much else together for us to review? Could we do it the week after Christmas?
December 29th?
Yeah.
No.
No? Okay.
Try to be less ambivalent, Jenny.
Not if we schedule it for the 15th and then I'll let you know if we're going to have business.
There you go.
Okay.
I like that.
Is that reasonable?
That's
and I
perfect.
can connect with Anna with, you know, any preliminary numbers I might have so she can.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Guys, I gotta go.
Bon
It's
appetit.
been fun. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you in December.
Until then, my flower.
Yes.
Okay, so technically we don't have a quorum anymore. So, but in this, it's not a work party. What are we doing now?
No, we have a quorum.
We do. Okay, good. So, recap of budget workshops.
That's you, Anna.
Oh, okay. Well, we only had one, and during the budget workshop, it was, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was me. I'd have been better prepared. During the budget workshop, there was a lot of emphasis on the fact that we are digging deeper and deeper into our reserves. And a couple of counselors were really disturbed by our not having a balanced budget. I, in the past, have pointed out that this is a kind of normal thing for a government as opposed to a household, right? Because, for example, our budget appears to be out of whack, but as every year, because of attrition and vacancies, we have it on paper that we are paying all of these people, but in fact, they're not here, so we aren't paying them. And that's money that can stay in the general fund. So we are, this is something that we brought up last year, and we had hoped that the mayor would work with departments to identify places where cuts could be made or methods of raising revenue, but that appears not to have happened in any way. So we discussed putting in a hiring freeze, and that's something that nobody wants to do. The employees of the city of Bremerton, in completely not surprising, did not like rise up and say, "We love Bremerton, we'll all take a 10% cut." I know, not a surprise. And for the most part, we had been hoping that Mike Riley would bring us some councilmatic decisions that we could make to reduce expenses. But he had not been able to do that. And he is working all through this. He worked all through this past weekend to present us some stuff on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, of things that could be cut. My personal favorite is we are paying $12,500 every quarter to the Kitsap Economic Development Association, which seems to be in good shape now. So that's 50 grand right there that we could add to the 40 grand in savings and get ourselves a mighty fine communications manager. And so that's information that we are looking forward to getting on Wednesday when this comes before council again. Yeah, this was our first budget that was, we went to a biennial budget. Like, we only do a big budget every 2 years, so a lot of things were already socked in into the 2025-2026 budget. So this is what's called a mid-biennium meeting. Was that helpful?
How much are they digging into reserves?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and if you can wait a couple of minutes while I vamp, and I've been telling people 2.5 million, but that is, I haven't been telling anybody who matters that figure.
That's okay. That's all right. You don't have to look it up.
Okay. If anybody wants to go to the city website and look at the mid-biennium draft budget, all that information is there. Yeah. Sorry, that's all I got for you. Next time I'll try to, I'll know that recap of budget workshops is me, not you, Jenny. And I'll be better prepared. Any questions on that? We also discussed raising revenue, and we can raise between an additional 600,000 to 1.2 million by raising car tab fees from $20 to $40. the mayor is against that, but it's council's decision. The thing with that money is it can only be spent on transportation. It can't be spent, like the theater at OC, like, right. The money can only be spent there. And the preliminary talks I've had with other councilors are that it would be spent on traffic calming and sidewalks, not, adding another lane to Kitsap Way or anything.
Not fixing the roads.
Well,
Some of the roads are in pretty bad shape.
Yes. What we're hearing from people is that they want traffic calming and sidewalks even more than they want roads in good shape. And really the only people who are asking us for better roads, apart from you, Marwan, is people who work at the shipyard, who are commuting into Bremerton. But if you want to mobilize people to send us an email on anything, really, that'd be great.
I have a question on that. You mentioned at the top of this that a few in council were surprised at the budget shortfall. Can I ask why they were surprised and weren't more informed in regards to where the budget sat?
We got an update. Typically we get a financial update monthly, but this year we have not. There have been long gaps between them. Mike Riley came before us in June or July even to give us a financial update on the budget. And if I said that people were surprised that we were digging into reserves, I think it was more that they were surprised by the extent of it and that there were no solutions forthcoming. So we got a financial update in July, and we've made more revenue between July and last week than we had expected. So that's good. And we haven't filled positions. So, that money's still in the bank, as it were. But yeah, it's just been in 2025, a much longer gaps between presentations by finance to council.
Could council have done anything if they received the reports in a more timely manner, like monthly?
We cannot tell staff what to do. So there's that, right? You guys on the audit committee are like, tell staff what to do more than anybody.
So essentially you're saying is every month you could find out that we're getting closer and closer to the cliff, but you can't do anything to put brakes on.
We could publicize it. If there is anything that we can do, people have been asking during the almost 4 years that I've been on council. And so far, we have not gotten any answers about anything we can do other than to vote against the budget.
And I guess my last question is there anything being on the audit committee that we can do? I mean, what's done is done at this point, but going forward in the future to help in any way.
Jenny, Rosalind, you guys are CPAs. What can the audit committee do?
Audit committee can do much, but as private citizens, you can engage and ask questions and ask those questions of the finance department and the executives of the agency. I'll say from my perspective, financially, municipalities are struggling all across the state. Like, this is not unique to the city of Bremerton or anywhere else. We're seeing in the school district too. The inflationary aspects of the last couple of years hit hard, and they were unexpected. And then lots of unexpected things kept happening. I'm speaking from my own personal experience in our school district that I manage, but we've also burned through a bunch of fund balance. And so I feel for the city and the position that they're in. And also, do you guys have fund balance reserve policies, Anna?
Yeah, we do. It's between 13 and 16%.
And will this put you outside of that, what they're
No,
using currently? No.
no, it won't.
So, I mean, you're in some ways you're going through a rainy day of sorts. The problem becomes if your rainy day lasts for a 100-year flood. That's where things start to really take a turn.
You're such an encouraging person, Rosalind.
Listen, it happens. Sometimes it's just a light mist.
True. Flattering to the complexion.
Yeah.
Okay. I would build on what Rosalind is saying, and which is that as a private citizen, you will get more answers from staff than we would.
Gotcha. Okay.
Doesn't Finance Committee get monthly reports or?
They haven't been.
Hmm.
In the past, yeah, the whole council got monthly reports, but one of the Finance Committee members at the budget workshop was specifically brought up how long it had been between financial reports this year.
Yeah. Rosalind, I don't know if you're aware that the city's audit of the 2023 financials is underway. So we're behind,
Okay, you'd said that last year when we got the last audit report. It's like right when I started working with you guys, we got the audit report for like 2 years prior, and they were behind. You'd had some turnover in staff, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think ever since COVID, there's been a labor shortage kind of across the board in the departments. So anyway, there's fallout from those types of things.
And I think people got used to the generous COVID money.
That was certainly an impact in our school district, and we're seeing that. That and then the federal government's impacts over the last few months have been really challenging. I don't think that you have as big of a impact at the city level for that, but
well,
we're losing grants left and right at the school district.
We're part of a lawsuit along with King County about the requirements for grant applications, that no diversity will be sought, and there are other quite draconian requirements. So we're literally suing the federal government.
Yeah.
Because one of the things about those grant applications is that if punishment descends, it doesn't descend on the city, it descends on the person who signed the application, which is super scary. Like, who are we going to ask to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Rosalind.
It's okay. We're pushing through.
Okay.
These things shall pass.
I really, really hope so. Anything else on this? No? Okay. All right. Any general business? Anything for good of the order? Anybody want to have more and longer meetings?
Not me.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so I will be reporting to council on, well, not until December 10th. So, because we don't have a study session. So I will report to them. And Jenny, are you planning to get the draft report on the communications to council, or want to polish it up some or anything? use
Yeah,
colored.
we'll get it finalized and issue it. I want to say this week, but I should check with Christine first.
Okay. Okay. Then our next scheduled meeting is the 15th of December at 5 p.m. And hang on, I've got to find something that looks like a gavel. An earring. Ah, there we go. The mouse. I call the Monday, November 17th meeting of the Audit Committee adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Happy
happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Holiday.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
Thanksgiving.
Good to see all of you.